Welcome to another edition of Pants Optional, Pop Cult HQ's interview segment where we chat with comic book creators and people, industry professionals during the coronavirus crisis via Zoom, so we can still stay connected while there aren't conventions and things of the sort. I'm Jason Bennett, Chief Editor of Pop Cult HQ, and for this episode, brief little backstory. I had a true honor in meeting and interviewing my next guest at last year's San Diego Comic-Con. They made an enormous impact with their 2019 breakout miniseries Canto over at IDW Publishing. Now, the legend's going to continue in their latest project, Canto and the Clockwork Fairies. It's a special one-shot slated to release July 8th. So please welcome Canto co-creators, writer David Booher and artist Drew Zucker. Welcome, guys. How are you?
You're hanging in there. It's great to see you. Hopefully everything is going well.
All things considering, you know, I don't mind. I don't mind chilling at home. I miss the convention scene. You know, that's where we
all do.
Yeah, we network a lot. That's how you connect with fans, and you know, I do conduct a lot of interviews at the shows. So fortunately we have a platform like this to keep that going, and virtual conventions and things like that. But yeah, it's kind of a bummer, but there's signs that things are getting better. Release dates are starting to open up again, and comic book news are being sent out to press. So let's just jump right into your new project. So Canto debuted last year, critically acclaimed. It's an all-ages adventure featuring your little tin hero in the search of a heart, but he found the hearts of countless fans during its run. I read an advanced review copy of The Clockwork Fairies, and I have to tell you, and I'll tell all the Canto fans too, the emotions that you felt and enjoyed and experienced in the miniseries continue to burst through the pages of this one-shot, this upcoming release. There's so much heart and hope and love in this thing. What can you guys tell us about your new project?
Well, I'm so glad that you say that, because that's one of our main goals, was to try to capture some tiny sliver of that lightning in a bottle that we had in 2019. And Canto and the Clockwork Fairies is a one-shot, and so it's really intended to, one of my main storytelling goals was to show fans of Canto and readers that it was a mini-series in 2019 for If I Only Had a Heart, but this one-shot really shows that the opportunities for stories for Canto and his world. And I think Drew and I both had that goal of just saying, let's dip our toe into the rest of the world, because we're going to come back with Canto 2, and he's going to be on a new adventure, and it very much relates back to his first adventure. But we wanted to expand this world and to show the readers that there's so much more to be explored out there, even beyond the main story once it eventually wraps up.
Yeah, I mean, like, I personally think doing one-shots sometimes can be a little dangerous. You run the risk of doing a story that maybe it doesn't relate to your primary focus, and then people don't connect with it. The people that have read Clockwork so far have really connected with it, and I think the best thing we did was it is a one-shot. Very much it is its own self-contained story. But at the same time, even though it veers off course a little bit from the main story, you still get that sense that things are continuing to move forward. This is just kind of that in-between period where you get to flesh the world out, and it's not necessarily, essential reading. I don't want to put it that way to be like, skip it, but it gives more depth to the character and the enjoyment that you would get from Volume 2.
Sure, and one thing that I noticed is that, a big, the big part of the first volume of Canto is being along on this adventure with your protagonist, and that does continue in here. But not only does it offer that additional adventure of the continuing adventures. The Brave Little Knight, it helps build the anticipation for Canto 2, The Hollow Men. Not giving any spoilers or anything like that, but it does make it like a nice, tasty offering sandwich between these two volumes.
And The Hollow Men is going to be a 5-issue miniseries.
One less than okay.
Yeah, so the first, If I Only Had a Heart, was 6. Hollow Men is going to be 5, and so we had an opportunity to use that extra issue to tell this, in between story. And honestly, we'll see how sales go. Hopefully, fingers crossed, everybody really jumps on board with it. But I personally think that structure of doing a one-shot in between volumes and then doing a 5-issue volume is it's a really cool way to tell more story in the same space. So I'm really hopeful that when we go to volume 3, again, fingers crossed that we can keep going with this. We do have a one-shot in between 2 and 3 that sort of is set up a bit. I already have an idea for it, but it's already set up a bit in Canto 2. And then it really sort of introduces you, like you said, the anticipation for Canto 3, which we already kind of have a pretty good sense of where we want to take it after 2.
Okay.
So, it all comes down to the readers.
Sure.
Buy copies.
It's also it's really interesting looking back at Volume 1 compared with Clockwork Fairies and Hollow Men, that I would say that even though Hollow Men is shorter than Volume 1, I think there is more story crammed into those 5 issues in a better way than we even did with Volume 1. And what's great is that sort of streamlining in Volume 2 really opens things up. So it gives us opportunities to be able to go and flesh the world out rather than me just drawing stuff in the background without any real explanation. While it did a lot for our world building, it's like, cool, what little side stories do we want to tell that we can use to help influence what happens going forward, so that readers don't feel like readers don't feel like they're just giving us money and getting filler, but instead you're getting your own a little side story, but it's also going to inform the main story going forurd.
Right.
That's one of the, I was just going to say, that's one of the advantages that we have now, is knowing that we can tell a longer story and a larger story. When we did the first volume, there's a lot of Easter eggs and things in there that we're going to be mining going forward, but we didn't know if we could do that.
Right.
We'd be able to do that. So this is much more, I think, taking the chunk of everything that's going to happen and sort of telling it as one grand story with a much more comprehensive idea of what we want to happen in different places and what we're going to revisit and when we're going to introduce new characters and new enemies and that sort of thing.
Right. Well, and that is the nice thing too, that first volume was a lot of building up your character, given the background, and you really don't have to do that going forward. Everyone knows this guy, and they know his heart, they know his journey, and no, it definitely radiates off the pages of Clockwork Fairies. And in this one, with the first volume, you guys had a lot of retailer incentives. Like I got number 3 here with me from the first volume. And I noticed that on Clockwork Fairies, you're going to have 3 different covers as well. Drew, you and Vittorio, your colorist, are going to do the main cover. And then we have, Nick Robles and Mateus Santaluco doing variants for you guys?
Yeah. So Nick Robles is doing the 1 in 10 retailer incentive, and Mateus Santaluco is doing the 1 in 25. And I have to tell you, whenever we talk about the 1 in 25, we're not, we want to advertise that it's 1 in 25, but we don't want to, sing it from the rooftops, I guess. But retailers know 1 in 25, and the feedback we've gotten about doing a 1 in 25 retailer incentive has been pretty spectacular. That's really a huge vote of confidence from IDW that it's going to be successful. There's more covers coming.
I'm sure. I mean, the first volume had some great variants. I Philip Seavey, Ben Templesmith, I believe, on one. Did you have Templesmith on
Bishop. Ben Bishop.
Oh, Ben Bishop. It was Ben Bishop.
Number 5.
Just all of them. And Drew, how is that for you, having seen other people take the character that you typically illustrate and kind of give their spin on it on the covers?
It's really weird to watch. It's cool, but it's also like, it's weird seeing people interpret how things that I fill in the blanks in my brain, people interpret it differently. Okay. So you see little variations between the way I draw Canto from the way other people draw him, and from cover to cover. And it's been actually really cool when you go back and look at everything, and it's like, oh wow, everyone has the same idea of it, but it's always just slightly a little bit different. And it kind of makes it a fun experiment to see people doing that.
I love seeing it. I love putting all the covers next to each other and seeing all these different interpretations as to who Canto is and different styles. For Canto 2, the first issue, we have 2 incentive covers. One is done by Ben Bishop, and the other one is done by George Kaltsoutis.
I can't believe you can say George's last name.
I don't know. I might be just circling the rim there, but yeah, George did we did some announcements and we showed the covers, and George did a very much vintage classic fairy tale book cover style. So it's Canto in a very illustrated, imagine the gold gilding on it and filigree and
nice.
All stuff. And then Ben did a tribute cover to the original issue number 1 of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Because we're introducing 3 friends for
the Laird and Eastman, kind of the...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the red and black one.
The red tones on it. Very different interpretations of the 2, but you absolutely know they're both Canto. And people have really been strongly responding to those covers. So for me, it's just fun to create a character that, the character design that Drew has created to make something that other people want to put their own spin on.
Right. I know we first connected at San Diego Comic-Con, the 50th annual, and this year, not really happening. But with it canceled, they're offering Comic-Con at home. And Drew, you and Vittorio have something planned?
Yeah, we're gonna have a San Diego cover again for Clockwork. Originally, the plan was it was going to be for issue 1 of Hollow Men. Obviously, with everything going on, everything is just kind of pushed back.
So releases.
Right. So Clockwork is going to get the San Diego cover. We don't know print run yet. We don't know much of anything besides the fact that I've drawn it and Vittorio has it and he's coloring it now. So it will be there. It's just we're waiting on IDW to tell us what they want to do print run wise, and we're working on a few other potential things for the show.
Okay. Well, we'll definitely keep on the lookout for that. And David, one of the things I see from both of you guys online, but Ringo noms are open, and Canto is eligible for this year's voting. In what categories can fans insert your book and your creative team for this year's awards?
Well,
plug, David. Embrace it.
Yes, please, everybody. Open to everybody. So as long as you have an email address, you can vote. I would say the golds are our highest number 1 goal for the Ringo nominations would be the kids comics and graphic novels category. We're eligible for limited series, I would say continuing series, because we are coming back.
Okay.
And the whole creative team, writer, artist, colorist, Vittorio Estone, letterer,
Darren Bennett.
Bennett for letterer. And then there's like the fan favorite categories, favorite hero, favorite villain. I can't remember a couple others, but I would say if everybody would at least throw Canto up there for the family comic graphic novel category, we would be absolutely ecstatic. It would help. I mean, here's the thing. We would be very excited to be nominated, but what it really does for a comic like ours is get more people aware of it and get more people reading it. And that's really our main goal, is not necessarily the accolades of getting an award or anything, but helping spread the story to as many people as we can.
And it allows you guys the opportunity, a better opportunity, to further expand your vision, this world, and future volumes or offshoots or whatever direction you want to go in it.
Absolutely. One of these nominations would absolutely catapult us to be able to do Canto 3 and Canto 4. And then hopefully it just keeps going, and we tell origin stories, and we tell side stories, and we introduce new characters, and every single thing from a nomination to sales to social media posts, anything like that helps IDW make the business decision to keep us going.
Definitely. Well, I know you've got a lot of fans out of this series, and you guys really made an impact in the all ages category.
Right, and not everybody gets to go to San Diego. Not everybody gets to go to New York. And
last year at San Diego, if you wanted to get a book signed, we had a line that just was for an hour solid,
right,
and had to be kept. So it's not like even going to the shows, you can. Sometimes you just get shut out of these things.
Yeah,
You have a stack of 1,000 books to sign.
But this has been, like, as much as the Diamond shutdown has been like a nightmare for people, and as much as all of this has just been a disaster from the word go. The number one thing I had hoped that would come out of this was not even necessarily Diamond falling apart, but forcing the shops to innovate the way they do business. Because if all you're doing is basing your entire business around new Wednesday Warrior comic sales, that's a really bad way to be running your business. You need to diversify it.
I think a lot of places will continue to do some of these different approaches. That was one thing I was confident in when Diamond halted everything and conventions and everything was on hold. I had the confidence that this is a community of creative people,
mm-hmm.
from store owners to creators to publishers to everyone involved in everywhere, that there's enough creativity to find out ways to be more innovative, to figure out new ways to connect. And I know one of the problems with local comic shops for a long time is they just settled on their brick and mortar, that there was no website, even though the internet's been around 30 years, but that's okay. This is one of those things that, if you look at the positive of it, that it forces people to okay, I need to do something now because I can't go to work. So I think a lot of these with Zoom interviews and new ways of selling online, I think a lot of that will still carry over into, the new normal, whatever that looks like on the other side. It's just, we found that we can do it, and for a lot of people it works.
Yeah. This also opened up the door for independent creators and showed the shops, I think, that there is a backup plan should this ever happen again. You have creators that sell on their own. I'm one of them. I have a book, The House, that was written by Philip Seavey.
With you and Philip Sheeby, right?
Yeah, and that book is not in diamond. That book is literally sold. Every single copy is a hard sell pitch from myself and Phil. This opened up the floodgates for us to reach new shops that had never heard of us and get it into the shops. I've sold more copies of that book in the last 2 months than I did in the last year.
Wow.
Because the shops needed content. But it shows them that, there is another avenue for you to be exploring beyond just diamond, which I think has been great.
Well, and you're going to see that. You're going to have people that would be going to conventions, maybe buying it, where you're tabling. Now don't have that. They still want to be involved, and the comic book community has always been really great about their how they work with fans. They connect with fans and retailers, and that real community feel. Hey, we're running low on time here, so let me just ask you guys one final question before we wrap up to each of you. What's your favorite local comic shop? Either your own LCS or one that you really support or you're really behind, because we're talking to two different coasts here. David's out in Los Angeles and Drew's in New York. David?
I can plug a few because I kind of move around a little bit. Yeah. There's Collectors Paradise in Pasadena. Golden Apple was my home shop for a long time and still continues to be, even though I've sort of moved away. There is Comic Bug and Pulp Fiction.
Okay.
And those are the ones who have been really supportive of us, and I've been trying to be very supportive of them. Sent them some copies of the Canto trade when things really ground to a halt, and I'm hopeful that they've been able to move those along.
That's awesome. Drew?
I have three. I have Spider's Web in Yonkers, which is literally half a mile from where I live.
Nice.
And then I have All Yeah Comics.
Franco's.
Yes. They're in Harrison. They're like 20 minutes from me. Both shops are awesome guys, awesome proprietors, clean, friendly. Anyone that comes in, whatever you need, they have it. And if they don't, they can get it for you.
Okay.
My third pick would be for Forbidden Planet down in the city.
Okay.
They're having a rough time right now with everything.
I did see something on that. So, the main reason why I asked is not just for a shout out or a plug for them. One of the things that we're doing here with our video interview segment is for you guys taking the time to do this, and the importance we know that local comic shops play such an integral role in this industry. We're going to, and since you guys picked so many, I'm gonna have to choose one from each of you guys, and Pop Cult HQ is gonna make a donation of $20 to each store in your guys' names, just as a little something to show that everyone still cares about them, and so I'll definitely I think I'll probably go with Forbidden Planet with you, Drew, just because I'm well aware of the struggles they're facing, and then I'll pick someone for you, David, and I'll definitely make sure that it comes from you guys, and
I'll tell you what, Jason, you're sending $20 to 2 different stores.
Yes, correct.
Drew and I will match it, and we'll send an additional $20 to whichever stores that
you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. We'll connect offline, figure out how to do all that. But you guys, Drew, David, anything else you want to throw out about Canto?
Clockwork Fairies is available for pre-order. I believe the FOC got moved up, if I'm not mistaken.
So it's still available for pre-order. Please, everybody pre-order it. Be on the lookout for Canto 2, which is coming right now. I'll soft announce that it's slated for August.
Okay.
So that'll be exciting, and then we'll be off to the races for 5 of those. And also, you can always catch up on Canto Story with Canto, If I Only Had a Heart, which is
Volume
available,
1, all 6 issues.
at all major booksellers.
Awesome. You guys, thank you for taking the time out and speaking with us. Best of luck, and I hope you and your families stay safe and healthy during this time.
You too, Jason. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you too. Thanks for having us, man.
Thank you.